Hello, hello, hello. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, and I want to welcome you to another, what is this, Tuesday night Heart Talk. Heart Talk is our weekly, I call it our life support session, where we come together, men and women from all over, and we come together to do heart work and grow heart equity. What is heart equity? Personal, relational, and financial wealth through authentic living. I'm really excited about us being here. I'm really excited about our time together. Hold on one moment, y'all. I can get this. Okay, let me see. Okay. Really excited about us being here, excited about our time together, but I'm even more excited about our call for tonight. So tonight, I want to talk to you a little bit about patience, because I believe that we are living in a season of our lives where we really want to be urgent in the way that we're living our lives, but we still have to be patient in how we go about fulfilling that urgency. And I know that that could sound like an oxymoron, or it could sound like I'm contradicting what I'm trying to say, but I believe that it's the end of the year. A lot of people are really worked up and getting ready for the holidays, and I get that. And then you have another group of people who aren't so much worked up about the holidays about Christmas and New Year's as they are about what is 2025 going to look like? Am I prepared for 2025? Do I have what I need to have in place to reach the goals that I need to reach in 2025? So I wanted to talk with you tonight about being patient, because I truly believe that patience is a virtue. I also know that patience is a fruit of the Spirit. So, one of the ways that we're going to grow, one of the ways that we're going to experience joy, experience peace, experience fulfillment in our lives in this season, it's going to be through the idea of being patient. It's going to come through you deciding that you're going to be consistent in what you're working on and not be anxious about it and not rush about it, but you're not going to be slothful. You're not going to live like you have 10 years to get something done. If it's something on your heart that you need to do, you need to be putting yourself in position to do it. You need to look at what are the steps that I need to take and then start pursuing those steps. However, when you start pursuing those steps, you want to start looking at what in the world, like, what do I need to do? But how can I go about doing this in a way that's healthy for me? How can I go about doing this in a way that works for me? And usually when that happens, guess what it is? You got to be patient with yourself. I had an experience yesterday. My son got accepted in the college. We got him registered yesterday, my older son, and I'm so excited about that. And one of the things about that was really important for me is understanding that his time to go to school and pursue his dreams and pursue his goals, this is his time to do it. His time is not my time. His time is not on my time. But his time worked out in God's perfect time, and he's going to school when he needs to go. When I went up there to register him, I'm a realtor. So when I went up there to register him, I also had a showing. So the way it worked out, when I finished my showing, I was able to leave the showing and go straight to, leave the registration office and go straight to the showing. And he was able to see how I was navigating being a mother, right? Helping him get his life together and do the things that he wants to do, but also be able to do what I needed to do in my business and show up in my business. There were some other things I had to do when we got back in town on yesterday, but one of the things that God kept talking to me about was the power of being patient. And a lot of times we like to think about patience when it comes to being patient with other people. And I think that you probably think that's where I'm going. That's why I brought that up with my son. No, I'm talking about being patient with yourself. I'm talking about being intentional about doing the work that you need to do, to be aware enough to realize when you're not being kind to yourself, when you're not being patient with yourself, when you're not taking time for yourself. Because what happens is when you don't devote patience and care and love, because I did a video on YouTube yesterday and I said I feel like patience is a form of self-care, and being kind to yourself is very important. And I believe that when you think about being patient in this season, I want to encourage you to be patient with yourself. When you think about being patient in this season, I want to encourage you to be urgent in your sense of what you're doing and what you're working towards. However, be patient with yourself and how you plan to do it. I keep hearing people talk about Jesus coming back soon. I don't disagree with that. However, Jesus coming back soon, that does not mean I need to be anxious. The Bible tells me be anxious for nothing. So I'm going to work. I'm going to run this race. I keep telling you, we are working with fruit. We are dealing with seeds, planting seeds, nurturing those seeds, and producing fruit. You see this background on my, because I'm on YouTube and on Zoom. If you see this background on Zoom, you see all these fruit and you see all these vegetables, and this is a reminder of the work that we're doing. I believe when we are doing what we need to do, when we are operating in our purpose and pursuing our purpose and living the lives that God has created us to live, we're going to produce this type of fruit. We're going to have all kinds of different beautiful things pop up and happen in our lives. But I also know that when you're gardening and producing fruit, you have to be patient, because the whole process takes patience, and you're going to get dirty. You may be inconvenienced. It's going to rain. A lot of times you're going to need that rain in order for your fruit to grow, right? And so when we think about being patient, I want you to think about, even if you don't have a green thumb, even if you're not a gardener, but if you're planting a garden, if you are wanting to produce, like if you had to not, if you weren't able to go to the grocery store and you had to produce your own fruit and vegetables right now, you would have to be patient. You could put fertilizer and try to force it to grow, but that's where you get all these fake fruits and vegetables that we have out now that are not giving us the nourishment that we need and our bodies desire, which is why so many people are sick, not just physically sick, mentally sick, spiritually sick, emotionally sick. And I believe that's why I'm so passionate about us doing hard work and growing heart equity and having these heart equity exchanges, because I believe heart equity is growing personal, relational, and financial wealth through authentic living. I also believe that you don't get to relational or financial wealth until you have a form of personal wealth. You have to know how valuable you are. You have to know how important you are. You have to know how necessary you are. And a lot of times um you're not going to realize that until you have gone through some things, till you have experienced some things. I know I went through a time in my life where I felt like I was inherently bad. Like I felt like something was wrong with me. I felt like there is no way that I was good, because my mama don't want me, my daddy don't want me. People I love are not being kind. It's like they're being nice on the surface, but I could feel the angst, the disconnect. Like I could tell I'm getting on their nerves. I'm bothering them. Something is not right here. And so for a very long time, I really struggled with, well, what's wrong with me? And so I did not move through life very patiently with myself. And good evening to everyone. I didn't move through life very patiently with myself. I did not move through life very being very kind to myself. But you best believe I was trying to be kind to everybody else. Or I had on this, I've always had a servant heart. I've always had a heart to encourage people. But because I was struggling with very low self-esteem and very low self-worth. And I did not present like that. I presented like I had confidence. I presented like I believed in myself. But the self-talk that I talk to myself, if somebody else talked to me like that, I would want to fight them right now. You might want to fight them right now. And I've been doing hard work consistently for at least the last 13 years. And I can tell you that most of that work has been to erase that old identity or release that old identity so that I can embrace the truth about me, the truth that God says about me, that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, right? That he loves me, that he would never leave me nor forsake me. But why did my mama do it? Why did my daddy do it? Why did these other people hurt me like that? Those were the things that I wrestled with. And because I internalized everything bad that happened to me, it was really hard for me to be patient with myself because I felt like I needed to hurry up and get better. I needed to hurry up and fix it, right? Sometimes we go through life and we're patient with ourselves. Like me, I'm in my 40s now. So I was patient with myself about some things in my 20s and my 30s, and now I'm in my 40s. I'm like, "Oh, I should have had this done by now. Or I should have been able to do this by now. I should have figured this out by now. I should have this net worth by now. I should have done whatever the thing is." Be patient with yourself. Whatever the thing is, you have to be kind to yourself. You can I think about this. I feel like God gave me this revelation when spending time with my son, cuz he was like, I was just thinking of how just the ups and downs that we've gone through, and him, I don't want to go to school, and just knowing in my heart like God was doing something different. And one of the biggest revelations I got is, look, I'm a good mother regardless if he go to college or not. Like I did a good job regardless. He's a good kid regardless. And for so many people who struggle with self-esteem and identity issues like I have, you feel like, oh no, I got to control this narrative. My kids got to do good. My relationship got to look a certain way. I have to look a certain way when I show up. I have to have these boxes checked off of my to-do list in life because people got to know I got it together. People got to know that I'm doing it the right way. People got to know these things. That a lot of times that's how we feel. And what I have found is you get the most productivity out of your life not acting that way. You get the most productivity out of your life by being patient and kind to yourself. You can be corrected. You can be challenged. You can grow. You can do new things, but you don't have to be nasty to yourself. How you talk to yourself is how other people are going to treat you. What you think about yourself is how you're going to experience life. Patience is a virtue, but it's also a fruit of the spirit. And moving, I like to say this. I like to tell my clients and my students this a lot. When you set your goals, don't move the finish line. Set the goal, keep the goal there. When you reach it, celebrate yourself. Be happy about it. How many times have you gotten something you worked really hard for, and like once that initial, oh my gosh, I got this, went away, you went back and you had that empty feeling again? It was like, oh, well, I got that done now. I got to work towards the next thing. Well, I got that done. Oh, I got to go do this now. Well, I got that done. Oh, I got to go do this now. You don't have patience with yourself. You're not able to celebrate your wins. You're not able to receive compliments well. And even if you receive the compliments on the surface, you don't believe them. You don't agree with them. Right? Like when I talk about us being patient with ourselves, a lot of times we think, well, I'm going to be patient with other people, right? I'm going to operate in those fruits of the spirit, right? No, you got to start with yourself. That's why this whole idea of growing heart equity for me is so important, because God gave me that. I've been doing hard work. I've been a heart coach for over 10 years. And then I just one day God was like, no, because I was like, what am I doing? I'm doing real estate. I'm doing coaching. I'm doing speaking and mentoring. I'm an author. Like all of these things go together, Lord. But it's like, I feel like it's disconnected. And just one day I was just there. And it was just like, no, it's heart equity, personal, relational, financial wealth through authentic living. That's what you're doing. And you do that in the multiple ways that you show up. Heart equity. Well, I'm doing real estate and I'm constantly helping clients see what's the equity they have in their property or potential equity, just all the things dealing with equity. And then when I start studying finances and learning about money, okay, I can see the idea of equity with that. So you put something in, and then you put, like with money, you put money in these interest bearing accounts, and then you come back and now the money has doubled or tripled, right? And then with a house, you buy the house, you pay the mortgage, you're living in it. For most people, you get a mortgage, you're living in there, you're paying down the mortgage, but as you're paying down the mortgage, the value of the home is going up. So you're paying down the mortgage, but the value of your home is going up. And the difference between what you owe and what it's worth is your equity. And that's if you sell your property, that's your money. What you sell it for, less what you owe the bank. And so when God started dealing with me about heart equity, and then he was like, well, you understand sweat equity. Like I volunteered with Habitat for Humanity before. So I understand, okay, we go in and we work and we help people. And this is buying down the cost of them being able to get their home. Like it's sweat equity that literally goes into creating physical equity in the form of real estate. So when we think about heart equity, and I was thinking about that personal, relational, financial wealth through authentic living. Well, when you grow wealth personally, how I define that is you're growing wealth with you and God. Like for me, it's a connection. It's literally walking through my 6-step process, right? So personal wealth is your connection with God and your connection with yourself and how you deal with the world around you, right? That's personal wealth. Being in the right mind, right? Having your heart in a good space, being good emotionally, being good physically, like your health is where it needs to be. Where are you spiritually, right? In order to have personal wealth, it takes patience. You got to be patient with yourself. You got to be kind to yourself. For some people, that's easy. But for many people, loving ourselves is hard. Loving ourselves well is hard. I'm not talking about self-care on the physical side, especially for many of us ladies, and not just fellas, but many of us, like we don't mind doing I heard a therapist say one time, we don't mind doing self-care that maintains, manages stress. Get your hair done, get your nails done, get a massage and all that. But what about the type of self-care that eliminates stress? So when I think about personal wealth, I'm thinking about being a good space with you and God. You're connected and you're aware. You are mindful of the world that's around you. And many times we want to like have a healthy relationship. We want to keep pursuing the bag and keep growing our wealth, and we have all these lofty goals. We want to travel. But many times there's nothing wrong with doing these things. We want to achieve all these goals. There's nothing wrong with doing these things. But what is a problem is the reason why we want to do them. Because many times we believe if I achieve that goal, if I get that dollar amount, if my relationship does this, this, and that, if my spouse does this, if my, children do this, then I am going to feel better. Then for many of us, we think that insecurity, we think that doubt, that void will be filled. We think that abandonment will go away, that rejection will go away. The only way that that's going to go away is for you to do the hard work. And that's where I believe heart equity, I truly believe God helping me understand it more is like when you put time in and get to working on yourself and you get patient with yourself and you start getting to understand Who are you? The Bible tells you you're fearfully and wonderfully made. But like, what do you know about that? How much do you really know about yourself? Or do you just know or believe what people tell you, what the world told you, what you came up with from what you knew before? So when we talk about like growing heart equity, you working on yourself, allowing the Holy Spirit to come in and do a cleanup work on you. The investment that you put in, the return that you get, hundreds, thousands fold. The type of joy and peace that you can have, even in the midst of the storm. I got some crazy things going on in my life right now, and it is shocking how much peace I have. But that didn't come without a price. That didn't come without some serious, serious loss. That didn't come without like just some very tough times. But because of that, I can tell you, being patient with yourself, slowing down so you can speed up, getting more intentional about what you're doing. Don't just get along just to get along. Don't just do things because they look good and seem good. Every good thing is not a God thing. But you got to do the work. And you and give yourself the space to, you don't have to come up with excuses, but stay curious about why you're doing what you're doing. Because sometimes when we have an excuse for why, we get stuck there. And so for me, my mama wasn't, me and my mama wasn't close. And my daddy wasn't in my life. And for so long, and I got to raise this child by myself. And then my husband get on my nerve and he don't understand me. And I just don't understand. And da da da. I mean, for years, that was just a story that was playing. And after I lost my mama, I had to reckon so much just to get a place of peace. I told God, you can have everything. Like, I can't hold on to nothing because I will lose my mind. And the Lord started dealing with me with anxiety and just showing me on how much I worry too much about what's about to happen. And I live my life so much on trying to manage the outcome and make sure things happen a certain way, because deep down inside, I want to protect myself. So many of us have different defense mechanisms that we use to protect ourselves. For some people, it could be having a bad attitude. For some people, it could be like being a people pleaser. For some people, it could be that you have too much to say. For some people, it could be like you shut down and don't have enough to say, right? Defense mechanisms can look different. Some people shop. Some people eat. Some people drink. Some people get high. Some people work all the time, right? It can look different ways. But what I'm saying in this season is, when you take the time to do the work and slow down, because that's when I realized with that anxiety, my goodness, I can't enjoy none of the success that I have. When I look back at all the things that I have gotten done, or even over the past 10 years, one day I was like, wow, I did that. It wasn't even about false humility. It wasn't even so much about I forgot. But when you don't feel like you good enough, you just got to keep going. Nothing is good enough. There is no goal you can reach that's going to, what do they say, that's going to scratch that itch. If you don't feel like you good enough, it's a bottomless pit. I don't care what kind of accolade you get. I don't care how much people tell you how amazing you are. I don't care how much you pray for things and get them. It's never going to be enough. And I learned that dealing with the anxiety. I realized I was so fearful about what was about to happen. It was way worse than when I was a child. I talked about having to take care of myself at 13 and figure it out and grow up fast and becoming a mother at 18 and 5 days old. Oh my God, the anxiety. I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do when I was having a baby. But when I was trying to figure out life without my mama, July, like, oh God, July was rough. And it was like, oh my goodness, I can't keep doing this. I can't even care about the things I used to care about if I'm going to stay alive. I can't even worry about if this boy going to school. I got to worry about breathing. I got to worry about staying focused and understanding that I'm important. So what am I saying? I had to learn to be patient with myself. I was slipping, falling, couldn't get up. The DMX version, I'll say that. I was in a whole nother space. And how God got me out is he said, you cannot be beating yourself up. You have to give yourself grace. And whatever it is that you worried about, you got to let it go because I got you. I was like, you can have everything. Everything. I ain't worried about the house. I ain't worried about the car. I ain't worried about the man. I ain't worried about the kids. I ain't worried about nobody. I ain't worried about who mad at me, who I didn't call this person back because they sent their condolences and didn't remember to do this and didn't answer for this and forgot to do this. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself some grace. Because this is the thing. Everybody going to mess up. I'm not saying give yourself excuses to mess up. I'm saying give yourself excuses to get better. I'm saying if at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again and again and again and again. And as many times as you need to do it to get to a better space. But let me tell you something. You can keep achieving those goals, but if you don't get your heart right, you're going to be so worn out and so tired because you will have everything on your checklist and wonder why you still feel bad. Wonder why you still feel inadequate. Wonder why you still don't feel like it's enough and you don't feel like it's good enough because it's some other things that have to be addressed. It's some other work that you have to do and you will find out what that is, but you have to be patient with yourself. For some people that look like taking a nap. For some people, that looks like taking time off. For some people, that looks like journaling. For some people, that looks like having a conversation that you've been avoiding having for the past 20 years. For some people, that looks like cutting people off. For some people, that looks like letting people in. Asking for help. Declining help. It's different for you wherever you are, but wherever you are, you got to do the work. And that's how we grow heart equity. And then you start to have that gap between quote unquote what you owe or what you lost or what you had to invest versus the beauty of what you're getting in return. Anybody have any comments or questions? Anyone want to share? Good evening to everyone. So I'm saying all of this because it's many, 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 many reasons. But in this moment, oh, we got somebody. You raising your hand? You could. Okay, let me. Okay. Oh, okay. Hey, Dahlia. Okay. Hi, Destiny. I'm so glad y'all got on. Thank y'all for being here. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. You're welcome. So the reason why good evening, good evening. The reason why I really want to stress this is because personally, I have had to get very intentional about my goals and what I'm working towards when it comes to doing hard work and moving forward with this mission, this message that I feel like the Lord has called me to share. I don't feel like it's anything different, but I feel like in years in the past, I have given myself an excuse to not go hard, to not push the coaching programs, to not really get out there and do the speaking, to not do the things that I felt, get on live, get on YouTube, do all the things that I know in my heart this is what I'm called to. And my excuse was, oh, well, if I can't do it a certain way, or if I can't get it perfect, or if I can't get it the way I think it should be, because you know how some people go, well, I just, look, I don't, excuse me, you hear people say, I don't do things halfway, like if I'm gonna do it right. Yeah, that's another excuse to not get it done. right? I understand. Yes, you want to do things in decency and in order, but usually that is an excuse because you're trying to be perfect. Because a lot of times we think if I just get it perfect, it's going to protect me from the criticism or the critique. Or if I just get it perfect, then I'm going to get whatever I think this outcome is going to be. That's not what's going to bring it. Done is better than good. And we are living in a world and we're living in a time where you really need to understand that you just showing up and you being here and being your authentic self is a blessing to the world. It is light to darkness. It is salt to an earth that does not have flavor. But if you don't believe in that, then you're not going to do it consistently. I've always known that this heart work message was important. This heart equity message was important. I struggled with sharing it because I was like, it's so deep. Like the type of work that I do with people, we go really deep a lot of times. So many things get uprooted. I'm talking about generational stuff. I'm talking about generations of generations of generations of things in my own life and the lives of others. Like this, doing this work, I found my great-grandfather was he multiple greats, but he was born in 1780. He lived to be 100 years to 1880. And I found his census, and I'm not him on the census. I'm not going in all the details right now. I'll do that another time. But that all came as a result of doing heart work. And in that moment, this was earlier this year, in that moment, God told me, this is why you got to go deep. You got to do the work because you got to get answers to your questions. So many of us are living below our means and we're not living to our full potential because many of us are fighting battles that we don't even know where they came from. We just came into this battle and it's slowing us down. And if we really start to be patient with ourselves, really slow down, start really doing the work. And I'm going to share with you like how I do my work and work with others to do their work. Because like a lot of the problems that you see in the world, let me tell you something. Ding, ding, ding. You were sent here to solve them. And if you weren't sent here to solve them, you were sent here to do something that's going to empower the person that's going to solve them. Well, why won't they do this? And why won't they do that? And people need to just do this. And people need to do that. You are the people. You are the people. We waiting for some they and them and those and people. You are the people. But the thing about it is, okay, like right now, let me see. Me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's what, 6 or 7 people on here. We know it's like 8 billion people on the planet. The problem is we'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and think, oh, that ain't enough. It's too much. I don't have enough. I don't have enough help. That's me. I'm people, right? These were some of the excuses that I had. You and God are the majority every time. Anytime you make up in your mind, you moving with the God of the universe, the Holy Spirit. Hey, son, I'm going to see you here when I finish. When you decide that you're doing that, you already operating in the majority. Now, I knew that in my head, but there was still a lot of work to get it there. I've done a lot of things by faith, but you got to consistently do it, right? Lost my mama? Oh. Okay, what we talking about with this faith thing? I got it. What I need to do? What can I do to feel better? He bring me right back to hard work. But doing real estate for me is hard work, right? Doing mentoring is hard work, right? Helping out whatever services, teaching the business class, that is hard work. Of course, heart talk is hard work. But understanding that this is all a part of my calling. So I got to be patient with myself as I'm learning how to use these tools that God has given me. I'll never learn how to use them if I'm always judging myself for not being good at it. Sometimes we spend so much time criticizing ourselves and criticizing others. We could have been spending that time getting better. You good? And so my encouragement to you is think more about you and God as the majority. Think more about what you're called to do. And not even so much about what everybody else gonna like. Because I can promise you, if you do the thing you called to do, the way God called you to do it, that's what's gonna bring you the most peace. But that's gonna bring you the most success, but most of all, that's gonna bring you the most peace. Peace is the ultimate currency. Because you see way more millionaires and billionaires killing themselves than people who quote unquote don't have a lot of money. So the answer is not getting a lot of money. It is what you believe about it. And I had to get patient with myself to realize, like, look, God loved me. God saved me from myself. My mama left. We in the same house and she gone and I'm still here. God really loved me. Okay, God, you saving me. You keeping me. Okay, what you want me to do? You got to do this work. You got to do hard talk. Yes, you're going to keep doing real estate. Yes, you're going to. Why? Because these are the ways that we do what? Grow heart equity. Personal, relational, financial wealth through authentic living. God might have had you create some medicine that's going to cure cancer or like, cure dementia or something like that. Maybe this hard work thing, that's not what you called to do, but you could support. You believe in what I'm doing. You could support this. Maybe you ain't even tuned to this frequency, but you tune to something else. It's okay. God puts us where we need to be. I learned in studying about fruit, I learned that if you're growing fruit trees and you want your tree to grow and it's like a brand new fruit tree, the first thing is the very first fruit that grows on that tree, you need to pull it off immediately. Because if you force that fruit to grow, the tree may never produce to its full capacity. It may never produce at the best quality, all because the first fruit needs to be taken off, because that's how the leaves, the branches and the roots get stronger. So for me, I believe in tithing, and when I heard that, I was like, wow, nature tithes. So it's something for us to think about, right? That's a conversation for another time. But the other thing that I'm talking about now that got me was, when you want your fruit tree to grow well, you plant it with other fruits and vegetables that produce well and maybe produce faster than what yours does, because them growing around that tree will help that tree produce more. See, a lot of times when we create, a lot of times when we are growing, when we are embarking on a new thing, I understand you can't tell everybody your dreams. They're going to come against you. I get that. But I also believe sometimes we give that too much power because we believe in that too much. Right? And so many of us are not seeing a fruit in our lives that we need to see because we're not cross-pollinating enough. Maybe God told you to do a couple things, but you trying to fit in the box everybody else in, so you trying to do one thing. That was me. Or everybody, you always doing so much. Every time I see you doing this and you doing that, yeah, and you ain't doing enough. So I guess we both got a problem. See, we got to get to the place where we understand, look, this is who God is calling me to be. The other thing too, with being patient with yourself, is allowing yourself to grow and understand that who you are now is not who you were last year or the year before, and is not who you're going to be next year or the year after. And if you give yourself room to grow and continue to bloom and blossom, you'll be surprised at the type of fruit that you will produce. But see, so many of us are so focused, I got to do it my way, the way I'm focused on, the way I think it needs to be done. No, you got to lean in and let God have his way. Sub to the mission. Submit. And for some of us, especially women, that is a trigger word. And that's why your life is so hard. Got to surrender. Got to submit. That's why you got to be patient with yourself. And that's how you can be corrected. When you're being patient with yourself, you can be more clear. You can understand better. When you being patient with yourself, you can make better choices, better decisions. But what I just need to stress to you the importance for you to be patient with yourself, because we need your fruit. And it takes time for seed to produce fruit. But we need your fruit. The world needs your fruit. We need to like cross-pollinate. But many of us are afraid to produce because what if it's not perfect? Hey, done is better than good. That's why we walk by faith and not by sight. Anybody have any comments or questions? Anyone want to share? Good evening. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-mm. You never late. Don't worry about that. We just here. Like, yes. Yes, absolutely. We got one this we doing it every month. This month is December 21st. I can't remember what it is for January. It might be Martin Luther King weekend. I got to look. Usually it's around like the third weekend of the month, but I'll make sure and post it and share it so you'll see it. But no, you're not late, right? Whenever we on here, whenever you get on, you get on. That's for everyone. But I thank you for sharing that because realistically many, like I feel like many of us, it's just human nature. um if we're not constantly like working, it's almost like I feel like everybody has had some type of struggle with self-esteem, confidence, but it shows up in different ways and is different for different people. But ultimately, I feel like we going back to talking about fruit, and let's talk about, even if you don't do gardens, you understand grass, and you understand that if you don't cut a yard for a couple months, much less a couple years, that yard will go from looking like a normal yard to looking like a mini forest, right? It will just look like it's something you cannot take care of with just a regular old lawnmower. And so that's when I think about doing hard work. We've been experiencing trauma and hard times, and rejection, abandonment, loss, just things going on in our nation, our country, like George Floyd, like just all the things. And like, if you've been going through that your whole life and your motto was, I'm a thug it out, or I sleep when I die, or only punks cry, and just the things that a lot of people believe, right? um it's like trying to get into a house and live in a house with a yard that has never been cut for the past 30 years. You can't get there. And now this thing has overgrown into the house and it's not even livable anymore because you got to get all this stuff out. Because that's what trauma is like, especially when it's compounded and it's been there for years. So like you say, Lord, like dealing with losing your mom, that's a whole thing. Like I said, people been losing their mom since Eve died. But I had no idea this thing felt like this. Or this, I guess it's hitting me like this. What in the world? I feel like that's enough for a lifetime, right? But we go through things. We go through our ups and downs. But wrestling with the am I good enough? Do I have what it takes? So many times, not only do we wrestle with that, but so many of the decisions we make, the relationships we find ourselves in, it show that we don't love ourselves. It show that we don't believe that. But we check off those boxes. We try to be high achievers. We try to, help everybody else because we hoping that somebody will see. And so we doing this, growing this personal wealth. When I talk about heart equity, it's so important because so many of us are dealing with these things, and everybody thing is different, but everybody got a thing. Everybody thing is different, but everybody got a thing, right? So I'm gonna share these 6 steps with you because these are the 6 steps that I use in my life. These are the 6 steps that I've written about in my book. help save me from my broken heart. These are the 6 steps that have transformed my life, my relationship with myself and God, my relationship with me and my husband, my mother, my children. And you talk about believing in yourself. I've been working these steps, but I'm telling you, I have had to work these steps, not just with me, with others, and just see God constantly show me it works if you work it. So I just want to share this with y'all. We talk about being patient with yourself. All kind of things can come out of this. I encourage you to have a journal, write your thoughts down, write what you're feeling. Don't make sense of it, but make it a regular habit to release. If you go to the bathroom every day and relieve waste, you understand that. That's your physical body. So what do you do for your heart, your soul, your emotions? When you need to relieve waste, how do you do that? These 6 steps for me is one of the ways. I journal, right? I like to reflect, have my quiet time, do deep breathing exercises, and then I really work through these steps. So the first step is connection. You got to have a connection. For me, it is my relationship with Jesus Christ and having the Holy Spirit in me and leading and guiding me. That connection is the primary thing. That's like if you're thinking about building a house, that's the foundation. That's the preparing of the ground for the foundation and then the foundation. So the first step in being patient with yourself, the first step, I believe, in growing heart equity and transforming your life is you got to be connected. Just like, I don't care how good your phone is, if you don't have that thing charged, it's not going to work. You got to be connected. The second step is awareness. And I had a powerful conversation today with a dear friend of mine who had a powerful, powerful revelation from God and just was in that connection, brought about an awareness. And I was able to talk with him about, wow, this conversation, I literally can highlight how these 6 steps played out in your life. And so that connection brings about awareness. Hey, awareness is you start to realize the things that you think are normal are not normal. For example, maybe everybody in your family, this is what we do, right? Well, we curse each other out. That's just what we do. My mama did that. My aunts did that. That's just what we do. But that hurts your feelings. So you don't like to do that. And you notice your awareness shows you that's why you don't like to go around them, because you don't like to deal with that. Right? Awareness. Because sometimes we get so caught up in the routine, or this is how people who look like me do things, or this is how people who live where I live do things, or this is how people in my profession do things. And we get so caught up and get stuck in a pattern, like on that hamster wheel, and you don't even realize that it's like you stink and don't even realize you smell bad. Awareness help you realize that, right? So the third, so you get awareness, you start to realize something ain't right about this. This ain't working for me. You in a relationship, it ain't working. Awareness is, this ain't working. I love you, but this ain't working. And then acceptance, that's the third step, is accepting the truth of what's happening. It is the, I know that person would never do this to me. I know that would never happen. It's the acceptance that it is what it is. It is what it is. It does not mean that you're okay with it. It is just acknowledging and accepting that this is what it is. This relationship is not working. I have wasted the last 10 years of my life. I have to accept the fact that I knew this was never going to work. I was lonely. I was empty. I was doubting myself. I have to accept that I am insecure. I am dealing with abandonment and rejection issues. I have to accept that, because if I don't accept that, I'm going to keep dealing with this mess. That's what acceptance looks like. Step 4 is forgiveness. See, acceptance is heavy. Forgiveness is the part, because you accepted that. Now you got to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for not knowing. Forgive yourself for allowing yourself to be in such a bad relationship. Forgive yourself. Forgive your parents for not showing you a good relationship. Forgive that person for not being in your life. Forgive that person for stabbing you in the back. Forgive yourself for even making friends with people like that. Forgive yourself for when you stab that person in the back. Forgive that person for sleeping with your man. Forgive yourself for sleeping with that person, man. Like, this is what I mean. Like, forgiveness gets really deep. Forgiveness is not letting anybody else off the hook. Forgiveness is allowing yourself to be free from the past and make step 5 a decision about how you want to move forward. So after you've forgiven, and let me tell y'all, after you've forgiven, step 5, which is the number of grace, now it's time to make a decision. Decision is not just a choice. Decision is you cut off all other possible options, and this is what we're doing. It is like you gonna build on this island and you gonna burn the boat because you're not leaving. You making a decision. That's step 5. So in that relationship, you're not going back. You're going to move forward. You're going to put yourself in position so that you can heal. I'm using this as an example, of course. You're going to heal. You're making a decision. I'm not going back to that abusive relationship. And step 6 is you're going to take action and do it. Now, let me tell y'all one of the ways, because I remember when I was working on, actually, my mother helped me with this. I was working with a business coach, and they were like, well, if you have this process, if you're going to help people, then you need to figure out, like, what's the process? What is the process you use to change your life so that now you can help others change theirs? And so I'm sitting there thinking, what happened? So I got still, and I took some time, and I came up with those steps: connection, awareness, acceptance, forgiveness. And it came about because I was thinking about what happened. And this is so funny. Only God will do this. I literally was thinking about, how did I get away from my baby daddy? How did I do that? Because that was one of the biggest, most transitional parts of my life. Because getting out of that relationship, it was such an abusive, toxic relationship. But the thing about that relationship, it was so common. Like, everybody around us had relationships like us. It wasn't like it was unique. But for me, I was just like, I don't want to keep this going. My mama in a toxic relationship. My grandmama was in a toxic relationship. Now, here I go. Just keeping this like I didn't even have that much of an awareness. I just knew I didn't grow up with my daddy, but I did not want to raise my daughter with a daddy that I'm fussing and fighting and I just did not want to deal with that. But I kept going back and forth with him. We went back and forth for 7 years, and I couldn't leave. And so what helped me figure out those 6 steps was I really sat down and thought about, when did I finally leave and what made me stay gone? And when I say I never look back, I never look back. When I was done, okay? And I sat down and I got to those steps. The first 4 steps are very common. Because, see, when we go through things in life, you start to grow your relationship with God. You building that connection. Whoever your higher power is, for me, it's Jesus Christ. But whoever it is for you, you start to build that connection. It's going to bring about a mindfulness and awareness, what you call emotional intelligence. Some people call it that. But you start to become aware that certain things in your life that you might think are normal, maybe they aren't normal. Maybe they aren't healthy. But you start to be aware of that. And then you start to accept, okay, this ain't right. Maybe I got to make some changes. Okay, I had a part in this too. And forgiveness. And that's what I used to do with him all the time. Oh, he make me mad. Now I go into church. Now I want to pray and read my Bible because my heart is so broken. Now I'm aware this is not a healthy relationship. I don't want to be here. But I didn't grow up with my daddy. I don't want to raise my child without her daddy. I don't want to raise my child as a single parent. I know how hard that was as a child. I didn't want to raise my child like that. Now we get to acceptance. Oh gosh, I got to accept my part in this. Oh, I can't do this with him no more. This is not good. Get to forgiveness. I'm going to forgive him. I never really forgive myself, and I would call myself forgiving him, and that's how I stayed in the toxic cycle. But when I really started to develop a relationship with Christ, I gave my life to Christ. I really said, hey, I'm going to take this thing seriously. That's when the step 5 and 6 started to play out in my life. And I'm going to close out with this. I believe that sometimes we put too much pressure on our own intellect and our own willpower. If you were strong enough and smart enough to get all that stuff done, it would have been done. Right? A lot of times the things in our life aren't working out the way we want to is because God is using these things, these inadequacies that we think they are. God is using these things to get our attention. And a lot of times we don't want to slow down. We don't want God to get our attention because some people, when if you slow down, you're going to cry. After you probably going to fall asleep because you're so tired and worn out and exhausted just from life, because we live in a culture that celebrates that so much that we all think that's what we're supposed to be doing, and we're not. Right? But once you rest, you're probably going to cry. That's why so many people try to stay busy, because they don't want to deal with the pain. But I can promise you, dealing with the pain is how you grow heart equity. You won't have to stay there, and you won't get stuck there. And you will find that other people won't be able to control you because you won't be so triggered, and you won't be so insecure, and you won't be so hurt. But you got to do the work. You got to confront those nasty, icky, dirty, shameful, guilt-causing things in your life. Maybe with a therapist, maybe with a counselor, maybe with your accountability partner, maybe with a coach, maybe in your journal, wherever you do it, but it got to get done. And you need to be patient with yourself, but you also need to be urgent. You've been putting it on the back burner. You've been saying you're going to get to it. It's time to get to it. It's time to heal. It's time to produce this fruit. And you can't produce fruit without being patient. Well, you can, but it'll be genetically modified. And nobody really wants that. It's definitely not the most healthy for you. We have enough fake things in our world. We digest enough genetically modified of everything that we definitely don't need to be doing that to our heart, our soul, our spirits. So I just encourage you, work those steps. If you haven't gotten a copy of my book, check it out. You can get it on Amazon. I'll put my link tree in the chat. I just encourage you to be patient with yourself and heal. Anybody have any comments or questions? Anybody want to share before we close out tonight? You are welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank all y'all for being here. It's food for thought. Literally, figuratively. It's food for thought. I'm not saying this is how I see it. Right? This is my process. But one thing I could say, oh, awesome, Dahlia. I'm so glad it helped out. One thing I can honestly say is I believe in this. And I need this. And I started talking about this earlier, but I'm gonna close out with this. I've done Heart Talk for 10 years. I've been doing Heart Talk in some capacity for the past 10 years. I had to start back going live because for the last couple years I've had personal struggles that made me feel like, maybe I need to do this differently. Now, I would say that, but I wasn't so much talking about the personal struggles. It would be more the professional things, I want to upgrade my camera. I want to do this. I want to do that. As you could see, I didn't do that yet because the Lord didn't really release me to do that, because God said, y'all make a big deal out of all these flashy, shiny things, and that's really not what matters. And he took me back to Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Simple ingredients. It tastes better than everything else. What is it, 4 ingredients? And sometimes we overdo it. But what happened was, I lost my mom, and the Lord had to show me what was really important. The things that I had convinced myself discredited me. The challenges that I said that I'm having in my family, with personal things. I'm like, how I could get on there and teach them about this stuff and I got this going on. Both things could be true. Everything I'm talking to you about tonight, I use in everyday life, personally and professionally. Because like I always tell my business class, you cannot separate your personal and your professional life because you are in all of it. Other people might not know what's going on, but you know what's going on, and that's what's heavy. And so the enemy was able to keep me quiet, and I wasn't going hard. I was going harder on the real estate side, and God slowed me down over there because I was using that as an excuse not to do the hard work. Well, it's like I'm doing hard work, but I'm doing it in real estate. God, yeah. No, that is not what I asked you to do. And see, the scripture tell us obedience trumps sacrifice. See, I was sacrificing, but wasn't being obedient. And we can't just give God what we want to give him. We got to give God what he's asking for. So anybody that's following me, you starting to see me, you going to see I'm giving God what I feel like he's asking for. And one of my favorite Christmas songs, I listen to it year round. The Little Drummer Boy, Ray Charles version. If you have not heard it, go listen to it, right? And one of the things that I realized, this is how I play my drum. Heart talk, heart equity exchange, doing real estate, doing consultations, doing community outreach. That's how I play my little drum for him. And I cannot let what nobody else think about me stop me from playing my drum. And if somebody don't like me or somebody don't agree with me, it's okay. I can take that into consideration. But don't let it stop me from playing my drum. And you can't let it stop you from playing your drum either. Let me see. A lot of times people are going through the same things, and it helps to know that we're not alone. Your experience allows us to give amazing. Exactly. Thank you, Destiny. That is so true. And that's why I'm so committed to doing this work, because I love and care about my people so much that I'll say the things. I'll share the things. It's not mine to keep. I believe we overcome by the testimony. That don't mean I got to tell all my business all the time. I can have discretion. But my superpower is vulnerability, authenticity, and that's what keep me going. So if I'm catching all this hell and going through all this stuff, and I can share some of these things and help somebody else, oh, you dang on right, I'm going to do that. And whoever don't like it, like I tell him, keep scrolling, keep moving. What you even doing here? Why you even here? So I encourage you, wherever you are, to trust God, trust the process, be patient with yourself, and just keep doing the work. Keep doing the work. You got this. If you be patient and urgent, not rushing. When I say urgent, I mean, think about this like this is important. Don't act like you can put it on. Act like this is for dinner tonight. It's important. Not tomorrow night, not next week, not meal prep. This is what we eating now. Urgent, but patient. Stay consistent. Be disciplined. The world needs to hear your drum. The world needs to see your light. The world needs to taste your salt. You can do this. Don't compare yourself to other people. That's a slap to God. If God wanted you to be like them, you would have been them. God wants you to be like you. No, it's on the top. The balsamic with honey. God didn't make you to be like them. God made you to be like you. Comparison is the thief of all joy. Stop comparing yourself. These fruits behind me, they're different for a reason. They are not all supposed to be the same and act the same. But when they grow together in their unique way, they all help each other grow better. And that's all we trying to do in the Heart Tribe. That's all we doing with the Heart Equity Exchange. That's all you see me doing with Heart Homes. Everything you hear about me, this is what I'm working on. Heart work, because we're growing heart equity. So I love y'all. I thank y'all for being here tonight. Remember, every Tuesday night at 8, we will be here now. Christmas, I think, is on a Tuesday. Christmas Eve is on a Tuesday. We probably will not do Heart Talk on Christmas Eve. And if we do, it might be like a little Christmas pop-in. But I will be emailing, so make sure you're on the list. If you're not, use the link in the chat. You can get on the list so that you get the notifications. That's the best way to get the notifications, is getting on the email list to get those. That's my suggestion. Sign up for the Heart Talk notifications. But we have a Heart Equity Exchange, and this is where we have our, I call it an authentic wealth exchange for business professionals, entrepreneurs, community advocates to come together and grow heart equity and exchange authentic wealth, because here again, I believe we all have something to share and we grow. The motto is, it pays to be you. And so we really, it's a personal, professional development. So it's definitely a business write-off for anybody who cares about that. This is a business event. But it is us going through activities and going through the process of noticing how important it is for you to be you, how it pays to be you, and then we work towards putting into action what that looks like in your life. And we do that for each and every person who's there in your unique way. It's pretty cool, pretty exciting. So December 21st from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then, they'll be monthly, and I'll let y'all know about that. But yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Share the information, share the flyer. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I encourage you to do that at Heart Coach Talk. All of that information is in the link that I shared in the chat. But you are necessary. That's why I want you to be patient with yourself, because if things don't go as planned, that's not an excuse for you to give up. It just means keep being patient, but keep going. Okay? All right. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for this time together. I thank you for everyone that's on tonight, Lord, and everyone that's connected to them. Lord, I just ask, Lord, that where there is chaos, that you will bring clarity, and where there is just a lot of pressure, Father, that you will bring peace. Father, I just pray, Father, that you would just open doors where they've been closed, and close doors where they've been open. And Father, I just pray, Father, that you bless us to see how much you really love us. Bless us to not just see it, but to experience it, Father. And teach us what it looks like to let go of the burdens, to let go of the fear, to let go of the shame. Show us how to trust you, Lord, because for some of us, it's not as easy to do. Sometimes we don't trust you. Sometimes we angry at you, Lord, and we just cry out right now, Lord. I just ask that you just cover us, that you just keep us, and you just protect us and everyone that's connected to us, Lord. And we just thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Good night. See y'all next week. You're welcome. Good night. Good night. I hope y'all enjoyed Heart Talk. The down periods, the Heart Talk is live on Zoom as well. And because it's such an intimate setting, I go live and on YouTube, and you can hear what I'm talking about. But if you want to be in on the conversation, I welcome you to go to the link in the description and get on the Heart Talk email list so that you can get notifications and get into the actual Heart Talk so that you can participate in the conversation as well. But if not, don't worry. We will be here, and you'll be able to hear me sharing on Heart Talk Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock. So, love y'all. Hope y'all have a good evening. This is Adelai Brown, your heart coach, signing out. Remember, when you heal your heart, you transform your life.